Karen's friendly visit. The muffin basket. The morning after the neighborhood's whispers and sideways glances, I was back on the porch, trying to fix something simple. Something normal. The old porch swing. Its chain was rusted, every squeak like a ghost from the past. That swing had carried years of Henderson family memories. My dad, cigar in hand, watching fireflies drift through the summer dark. Neighbors dropping by. Me as a kid, swaying back and forth until I almost launched into the yard. Now, every squeal of rusted metal was a reminder. This place wasn't what it used to be. I tightened the last bolt, wiped the sweat from my brow. And then I heard it. The sound I'd already grown to hate in less than a week back home. Click, clack, click, clack. Heels on the sidewalk. Karen. I looked up. And sure enough, there she was. But this time, something was different. No power blazer. No leather binder stuffed with citations and threats. Instead, she wore a soft pastel cardigan, pearls around her neck, and a smile so wide it looked like it hurt. In her hands, a wicker basket lined with a floral towel. A muffin basket. Oh, wonderful, I thought. The tyrant of the cul-de-sac comes bearing pastries. She strutted down the walk like she owned not just the HOA, but the pavement itself. "Good morning, neighbor," she sang, syrupy sweet. I leaned against the porch post, arms crossed, sweat still dripping from my forehead. "What do you want, Karen?" I said flatly. Her hand flew to her chest as though I'd stab her right through her pastel sweater. "What do I want?" "Oh, come now," she said, the smile never fading. "Can't a friendly neighbor bring a welcome basket to someone new in town?" I stared at her. "You've known me since I was 6. Her grin twitched. For half a second. Then it was back, bright and plastic. Karen climbed the porch steps like she was walking into her own home. She set the basket gently on the railing, like a priest laying down an offering. "Blueberry," she said proudly. "My specialty. I thought we might start fresh." I glanced at the muffins but didn't touch them. "Fresh," I said. "You slapped me with 3 violation letters in 24 hours. Karen waved a manicured hand like she was swatting a fly. "Minor details," she said. "All fixable. What matters is community spirit. If you show me that you care about our neighborhood, I can make all this unpleasantness disappear." There it was. The bribe. Wrapped in blueberries and fake kindness. I crossed my arms. "And what does 'show me you care' mean?" Her eyes glinted, just for a second. "Well," she said, "for starters, that truck of yours. It's unsightly. Perhaps if you replaced it with something more appropriate. A Lexus, maybe. Or a Tesla." I laughed. "This truck's older than I am. It's staying." Her smile didn't falter, but her voice grew a degree sharper. "Then the grass," she said. "A landscaper could have it trimmed, edged, and fertilized by this weekend. I happen to have a card for one. Very affordable." I shook my head. "I've got 2 hands and a mower. That's all I need." Karen's smile twitched again. Her eyes narrowed almost imperceptibly. "And the flag," she said softly. "The one your father insisted on flying. If you must have one, you'll need to file the proper paperwork. Otherwise, it's considered visual clutter." That was it. The final straw. I stepped forward, close enough that my shadow fell across her pastel sweater. "That flag," I said, voice low, "is the reason you even get to run your little kingdom, Karen. My father fought under it. I fought under it. And whether you like it or not, it's going back up." For the first time since she set foot on my porch, her smile cracked. Just a flicker. But I saw it. Annoyance. Anger. Loss of control. But just as quickly, the mask was back. She tilted her head like a mother scolding a child, and her voice slipped into something soft, dangerous. "You really should think about your future here," she whispered. "A man like you, fresh out of service, no family, no wife, no children. Do you really want to make enemies in the only community you've got left?" Her words hit like a sucker punch. She wasn't just targeting my house, my grass, my truck. She was targeting me, my loneliness, my isolation. I forced myself to stay calm. I've faced worse enemies than you. Karen's eyes narrowed, but that smile of hers spread even wider, all teeth and menace dressed as kindness. Well then, soldier, she whispered, I suppose we'll just have to see who lasts longer. Enjoy the muffins. She turned. Her heels clicked against the wood. She descended the steps like a queen retreating from her throne. I didn't touch the basket. Didn't even look at it, because I knew better than to accept food brought by the enemy. I stood there, fists clenched, watching her cross the street to her pristine house, the one with the perfect shutters, the chemically green lawn, the kind of yard that looked more like plastic than grass. At the door, she glanced back once, that fake smile plastered across her face. And in that moment, I understood something important. Karen didn't just want control. She wanted submission. Every smile was a leash. Every muffin basket a chain. And every neighbor cowering behind their curtains was proof she had broken them. But I wasn't broken. Not yet. That night, the air was heavy. I poured myself a glass of Dad's favorite bourbon and sat in his study. The room smelled like dust, leather, and time. Shelves lined with books no one had opened in years. A desk cluttered with old papers. I let the amber liquid burn my throat, thinking about Karen's words, thinking about my father. And then, I noticed it. A drawer. Locked. Dad never locked anything. Curiosity pulled at me. I grabbed a screwdriver, worked the lock, and pried it open. Inside was a small wooden box. Carved initials on the lid. J.H. John Henderson. My father. My pulse quickened as I lifted the lid. Inside, documents. Old letters. Memories sealed away. And at the very bottom, an envelope. Yellowed with age. My father's handwriting across the front. 4 words. For my son. And that's when I realized Karen wasn't my only battle. Dad had left me something. Something he wanted me to find. Something that might change everything. The envelope. The envelope felt heavier than paper should. Its edges were yellowed with time, its seal brittle under my thumb. My father's handwriting, firm, deliberate, spelled 3 simple words. For my son. I stared at it like it might explode. Because, in a way, it already had. My father was not a man of sentiment. He didn't write cards, didn't scribble birthday notes, didn't leave love letters tucked between pages of books. For him, words were spoken once, then etched into memory. If he had bothered to write me something meant for the moment after he was gone, then I knew it wasn't just words. It was a warning. Or a weapon. And God help me, I wasn't sure which I was holding. I broke the seal. Slowly, carefully, as though tearing it too quickly might erase the man who had written it. Inside were 2 sheets of paper. One, a letter. The other, a copy of an old deed. I unfolded the letter first. My father's handwriting was sharp, military precise, each word pressed deep into the page like he was commanding the ink to obey. It began simply, Son, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And if you're back in this house, then trouble has found you too. The bourbon in my glass suddenly tasted sharper. I leaned back, letting the lamplight paint shadows across the study walls as I read on. You need to understand something about this neighborhood. It isn't what it seems. It never was. The HOA was never just about lawns and fences. It was a tool, a mask. And behind it are people who don't just want order, they want control. I felt my jaw tighten. Karen's smiling face, her muffins, her thinly veiled threats, it all flashed before me like puzzle pieces snapping into place. When your mother passed, I thought about leaving. God knows I wanted to. But I stayed. Because I knew if I left, they'd consume this place completely. Every man, woman, and child here would be under their thumb. And I couldn't allow that. Not after what I'd seen. My pulse picked up. My father, John Henderson, retired Army, decorated, a man who never flinched in combat, was admitting fear. What had he seen? The letter didn't make me wait. The Martins didn't move because they wanted to. They were forced. The Parkers didn't sell out of choice. They were destroyed. You've heard the rumors. What you don't know is that Karen was the one pulling the strings, and she wasn't working alone. There's money tied into this HOA. Dark money. And leverage. The kind of leverage that ruins lives overnight. I've spent the last 5 years gathering proof. Proof. My heart hammered as I looked toward the wooden box. I flipped to the second page. The deed. A property record. But not for our house. This was for a small, undeveloped lot near the edge of the subdivision. And at the bottom, in neat block letters, was a name that made my stomach twist. Karen Miller. She owned it. Quietly. Off the books. And she'd bought it cheap, years ago. Why? I scanned the rest of the papers in the box. Receipts. Meeting notes. Copies of HOA amendments. And in my father's meticulous handwriting, margin notes connecting dates, names, payments. It was like watching a detective build a case file. My father hadn't just been living in this neighborhood. He'd been at war in it. And now, it seemed, that war had passed to me. That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the house felt like footsteps. Every car that slowed on the street made me grip the envelope tighter. When morning came, the world outside looked unchanged. Children rode their bikes. Sprinklers ticked across perfect lawns. And Karen's house across the street glowed pristine in the dawn light, its shutters symmetrical, its hedges trimmed like a military haircut. But I knew better. Beneath the pastel cardigans and baked goods was a chokehold. I made coffee, black and bitter, and sat at the table reading my father's words again and again. They weren't just instructions. They were a map. And then I saw it. At the very bottom of the letter, almost like an afterthought. Trust no one. Not even the ones you think remember you fondly. They're scared. Fear makes people weak. But if you're smart, fear can also make them follow. I set the letter down slowly. That was the part that cut the deepest. Because it was true. I had seen it in Mrs. Jenkins' trembling hands. In Tom and Ellie's nervous glances. In Danny's slumped shoulders. The neighbors weren't my allies. Not yet. But they could be. If I gave them a reason. That was when the knock came at my door. 3 sharp raps. Too deliberate to be casual. I stood, letter still in hand, and peered through the peephole. It wasn't Karen. It was someone else. Tom. The same Tom who had warned me not to poke the bear. The same Tom who had walked away from me like I was already a dead man. And he wasn't smiling. In fact, he looked terrified. I opened the door. Tom. He glanced over his shoulder before stepping inside quickly, like he didn't want to be seen. His voice was low, urgent. You need to stop, he said. I frowned. Stop what? Whatever it is you're doing. Whatever you found. You don't understand what she's capable of. I held up the envelope. I think I'm starting to. His eyes darted to it, then away, as if even looking at it might get him in trouble. You don't get it, he whispered. People have tried. Good people. Families. Karen doesn't just fine you or shame you. She destroys you. She'll find the cracks in your life and pry them wide open. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Then why are you here warning me? He swallowed hard. Because I saw her watching your house last night. Standing at her window. Smiling. Like she already knew what was coming. And I don't want to see you get chewed up like the rest. For a moment, I saw the boy I used to know. The one who used to trade baseball cards with me in the cul-de-sac. Who used to laugh until his stomach hurt. But that boy was buried under layers of fear. I gripped his shoulder. Tom, listen. My dad was fighting her long before I got here. He left me proof. Real proof. And I'm not going to let her keep running this place like her own personal kingdom. His face went pale. He shook his head violently. Then you're already dead. He pulled free and left without another word, leaving my door wide open behind him. I stood there, the morning air creeping in, the letter trembling in my hand. And in that silence, a single truth settled over me like a storm cloud. Karen knew. She knew I had the letter. And if Tom was right, if she had already broken stronger families than mine, then the real war hadn't even started yet. The showdown. The letter trembled in my hand as I stepped outside. Dawn had barely broken, and the neighborhood was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that smothered every whisper of life, leaving only tension in its place. Karen's house was across the street, perfect as always. Shutters aligned, lawn manicured to military precision. And, perched behind the living room curtains, her eyes were already on me. I swallowed hard, heart hammering. She had always been a predator hiding behind civility. But now, with my father's evidence in my grasp, I wasn't prey anymore. I'd spent hours studying the papers, connecting the dots, tracing her influence, her bribes, her hidden property holdings. Every detail reinforced one truth. Karen ruled this neighborhood like a queen with a whip, and her subjects were terrified. Not me. Not today. I made my way down the street, envelope tucked safely in my jacket. The breeze carried the faint scent of freshly cut grass, almost mocking me with normalcy. And then I saw him, Danny, the boy on his bike, peering at me like a scared little soldier. He slowed to a halt. You're really going to do it?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. I crouched to meet his eyes. "I'm going to fix this. Not just for me, but for everyone." His small shoulders slumped. "Mom says, be careful. She's scary." I smiled, though it didn't reach my eyes. "I know. But sometimes, Danny, the scary ones only get scared when someone stands up to them." By mid-morning, I was back on the porch with tools and letters spread across the railing. I was preparing, not just for confrontation, but for proof. Every note, every document, every receipt my father had left, this was my arsenal. And then she arrived. Karen. This time, no muffins. No false smiles. Just heels clicking against the sidewalk, her eyes sharp, calculating, dangerous. She stopped at the bottom of the steps, hands on her hips, evaluating me. "Well, soldier," she said, voice smooth, almost amused. "You've been busy." I stepped forward, my own hands clenched into fists, not from fear, but from resolve. "I've read your files," I said evenly. "Your deeds. Your receipts. Your HOA tricks. You're not in control here. Not anymore." Her smile flickered. A shadow passed across her face. For a moment, just a moment, I saw her panic. Karen's voice dropped, sweet as poison. "Oh, and what exactly are you going to do with that?" I held up the envelope. "This. Every bit of evidence my father collected. Every lie, every hidden property, every intimidation tactic. And I'm going to make it public." Her eyes narrowed. "Do you know what you're saying? If I wanted to, I could have you fined, arrested, humiliated. You'd be nothing by nightfall." I laughed. Not out of fear, but fury. "Then do it. You're a paper tiger, Karen. You scare people who are weak. But not me. And not anyone else who's tired of living in fear." The first neighbor peeked out from behind a curtain, a shaky head, a small hand over a mouth. Then another. And another. Soon, dozens of eyes were on us. Silent, but watching. Waiting. I realized in that moment, fear was contagious, yes. But so was courage. Karen stepped closer, face inches from mine. "Do you really think these neighbors will help you? They'll turn on you the moment the first fine comes." I pointed to the street. "I don't need them to attack. I just need them to stop hiding. One small act of defiance is enough. And they're ready. I can see it in their eyes." A tremor passed through her lips. For the first time, her control faltered. Then, from the shadows, Tom appeared. And behind him, Ellie. And then Mrs. Jenkins, carrying her half-trimmed roses. One by one, neighbors stepped onto their lawns, glancing at me, then back at Karen. They weren't smiling. They weren't laughing. But they weren't cowering either. Karen's composure cracked. This isn't possible," she hissed. I spread out the papers on the porch railing. "It is. And it's only the beginning. Every violation you've thrown, every family you've pushed out, every lie you've spread, it's here. And now the world will see." Her face went pale. Not anger. Not rage. Fear. Real, primal fear. She backed away slowly, hands rising as if to shield herself. You don't understand." I leaned in. I understand perfectly. You thrive on fear. But today, that fear ends with you. The neighbors watched silently, some with tears, some with clenched fists, all witnessing the tyrant finally confronted. Karen's eyes darted. She measured the distance, calculated escape, and then she ran. Across the street. Into her house. Slamming the door. Locking it behind her. The street fell silent. Except for the soft hum of lawn sprinklers. The faint rustle of leaves in the breeze. And then, slowly, applause. A hesitant clap from Mrs. Jenkins. Then Tom. Then Ellie. More neighbors followed. The sound grew, not mocking, not loud, but deliberate, a neighborhood reclaiming itself, one small gesture at a time. I sank onto the porch swing, the envelope clutched to my chest. Dawn had broken fully now, the light soft and warm, casting long shadows across the lawns. Karen hadn't won. And she wouldn't. Not today. Not ever again. For the first time since I returned to this house, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. The neighbors weren't scared anymore. And neither was I. But I knew one thing. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The war for the neighborhood had just shifted. And I was ready for it.